All right. So today, game plan. We're going to go over some similar figures. Basically, it's an extension of what we were doing from the previous unit. So, figuring out whether or not two figures were proportional. Do our cross multiplication. If everything was true, ta-da, good to go. Okay, we'll deal with that later. Right now, let's worry about. All right, I'll deal with that later. So just don't lose it for now. So, the homework that we talked about from Stinger, if there's time, we might be able to review it. If there's time today. Also, Unit 1, Day 1 and Day 2 quiz. That's going to be, we might start review on that. That's really not going to be a whole lot going on. In fact, I'm kind of regretting. I mean, you might have enough information where we could have done it on Friday, but you know what? I'm going to hold off on the Friday. I'm going to hold off a quiz for Friday. We'll do it next week, but it's going to be right when you get here, next Tuesday. It should not take you long. Do the quiz, probably about, it's only going to take maybe like 15, 20 minutes, maybe half hour max. And then we're going to keep going with the units. So this is just what's coming up. All right, any questions before we continue? So you have today's activity. We're gonna start it in about a minute. Let me just update attendance, and then we'll go from there. In 30 seconds, I will finish attendance, and then we will continue with what we are going to be doing. So let's see. Andy, Catherine, Zoe, Ellen, no Jason, Des, and Valerie. Okay. Again, I did post the notes from day 1. I know it was all messed up, 2 parts. Okay, we'll talk about that later. But if you got the day 1 notes completed, you're good to go. That's not like a homework or an assignment or anything. But going forward, there may be days where I might say, these notes, I'm going to make sure you do for a completion grade. So going forward, I may say, like, okay, this certain day, we need to have the notes done for completion grade. All right. So, if time, we'll look over some of the homework, because this homework was given to everybody. I think it was given to everybody during the Stinger period that we had, but if you didn't get it, I'll give it to you today, and we'll have time. You still have time to do it. It's really not going to take a whole lot of time to knock that out. That's a quick, you should be able to knock that homework out. And then day 1, day 2, quiz review. So next week, you're going to have that quiz. So here's the dates on everything. So this is a homework assignment. That's going to be a homework assignment. And they're really going to be quick. If you understand what's been going on the last couple of days, you should ace this quiz next Tuesday. All right. Let's start at the beginning. This is not good. All right, here we go. So, Unit 5, Day 2 notes. We start now. We have similar figures. Same shape, but not the same size. Basically, we talked about it before with, like, you know, if anybody played Mario back in the day. played with Mario Brothers back in the day, that's basically what happened. You're taking something, you're making it bigger, or you're making it small. Now, with the similar polygons, no matter if it's a triangle, rectangle, whatever shape, corresponding angles, corresponding sides. The angles are going to be congruent. So, whatever angles correspond to each other, they are always congruent. Corresponding sides are proportional. They're all going to have the same proportion. So basically, when you multiply all your corresponding sides by the same number, that's what's going to make it larger or smaller. And then the similarity symbol is just that little, it looks like a tilde mark. That's right. So that's a similarity symbol. So that's what we have going on right here. They're similar. Angles are going to have the same measure. Sides are going to be proportional. And then the proportionality statement, ratio of the lengths of the corresponding sides. That's basically what's going on. But just don't worry too much about this statement. As long as you see that when you go from bigger to smaller, or smaller to bigger, you multiply the same number for all the sides, either going up or going down, or similarly divide the same number. That's basically what's going on. We kind of started that last class. We're doing the proportion. That's basically the same thing going on here. But the most important thing we need to know is identifying everything. Because again, you know how we're going to determine corresponding sides, corresponding angles? Order matters. I can't stress that enough. So you might want to write that down somewhere. So I would like for everybody to write on the top of today's notes, Unit 5, Day 2 notes. And today's date is February 2nd, 2022. So please, everybody, write that down. Write down Unit 5, Day 2 notes and today's date. Because I want everybody to make sure they have their notes, they know where their notes are, they correspond, so that when you have quiz and tests, you know exactly, oh, okay, I know where these notes, where they are, what they represent. So please do that. So, and then we go from there. All right. Questions before we continue? Now, here's where the most important part matters with the order. Right here. We start out. Now, how I wrote this. Good. How I wrote this little graphic organizer, the proportionality statement is going to just really be one line. The angles, basically, you're just picking them off. And then this really should have been the single tilde mark. So, congruent. All right, but let's get cut to the chase. Again, the order matters. So, when we talk about angles, now how many letters will we need for an angle? What's the minimum number of letters we need for an angle? 1, 2, 3. Tell me what's the minimum. Again, let's hide those phones. Zoe, you don't need that phone. How many letters? Anytime you have say for instance a triangle. So we have ABC. A, B. How many letters do we need? Well, we need 3 letters to name the triangle, but if you're just looking at an angle, what's the minimum number of letters? You just need 1. So for instance, congruent angle. You start with angle A, and then you have angle B, angle C. Now you need to figure out, given your congruent statement, if you look at angle A, if you have your other triangle, which angle in the second triangle is going to correspond to angle A? Look at your order.
X.
X. It's the quickest way you do it. Put A, B, C above X, Y, Z. Then you know exactly who corresponds to what. Angle A, angle X. Angle B is with which one?
Y.
Angle Y. Angle C?
Z.
Z. There you go. It's that simple. We've done this before. Now, here, what we're going to do is a little different. However, not by much. Oh, actually, we can keep that. ABC above XYZ. We're going to keep that. But rather than the 3 lines, here's how you're going to set up your proportionality statement. Because since there's 3 sides, you're going to need 3 fractions. I'm going to tell you, set that up. Now, for the first triangle, what's the first side we see from the first triangle? What 2 letters? Remember, 2 letters make up a side. So what are the first 2 letters we see in that first triangle? First triangle. What are these first 2 letters? AB. Now, which side would AB correspond to in the second triangle?
XY.
XY, good. Okay, so we got AB and XY. Okay, what about B and C? We have BC,
YZ.
YZ. And then last but not least,
A and C.
A and C corresponds to?
X and Z.
That's right, there you go, Andy, good job. There's your proportionality statement. Because the congruence statement or the similarity statement, that's the most powerful information you have. Because now you're going to do the same thing. You know it's similar polygons. You're going to do the same thing. So again, list your first letters. List them going down. Angle A, angle B, angle C, angle D. So now, again, put A, B, C, D right above and OP. So now, given the order, angle A is going to correspond to which angle? N, O, or P? N. What about B? Who's right below B? What letter? Mm-hmm. Very good. He's right. And he's 100% right. That's how you're going to label. Now, we're going to do something similar, but rather than 3, you're going to need how many? 1, 2, 3, or how many sides are in?
4.
You're going to need 4. You have 1, 2, 3, And then, I don't want that there.
The first one would be, AB and MN.
AB over MN, very good. A, B, M, N, he's right. Who's got the second one? I'm waiting for somebody else. What's after AB? So we got the first two letters. What's the next two letters? Well, keep the first two. Let's start again. AB, got that. Second? Okay, so we'll put CD, we'll put CD here. But what's gonna go directly under CD? OP. What other pairs can we? Well, AC is not gonna be directly connected.
Would it be AD?
You can get AD, DA, that would work. Because you go from you can go from D to A. So then in the bottom,
Then it would be, PM.
PM, yeah, PM are gonna connect. We have one more. There's
And
more.
then,
BC, that's what we needed. Boom. B to C.
NO.
Which one? Which one?
NO.
And O. No is correct. So no in this case would be a yes. All right. So again, order matters. That's going to tell you exactly which sides and which angles correspond to each other. All right. I know you're good. Thank you, sir. And you just filled out. You just filled out the top part. Okay. All right. Questions so far? Now the next couple we sort of talk about. Basically, the hint is who corresponds to what. That's going to be, so on the bottom, we talk with the labeling and everything, who's similar, who's not. You also have to look at, for each polygon, which angles from the first polygon correspond to which angles of the second polygon. So we agree to that, Valerie?
Yeah.
All right. Now, a lot of times you're gonna be able to look right away. Like this first triangle. Well, here's what we need to do. We need to figure out whether or not if they're similar, that means they have to be proportional. So similar, the key word, you see similar? Proportional. That's going to be the key. So, here's what we do. Let's look at the first example. We'll look at it together. Right away, which side, which two, so from the first, pick a side in the first triangle. Okay, so you're saying 9 and 6 are correspond to each other, Valerie? All right, and you're going to be right in all three cases. Yep, because 9 and 6, since they both shoot up directly from that right angle, we can check. You could also check 12 and 8. And you could also check 15 and 10. Now remember, the order matters. Well, in all three cases, this is where we're going to need our calculators. Well, if we divide 9 by 6, 12 by 8, or 15 by 10, what would we get in all three cases? Did that happen in all three cases?
I'm about to check it.
All right, let's check and make sure.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So this tells us that they're proportional. You have to correspond the sides. So we corresponded, we'll just say with this one, the AR corresponded to NT. And then XA, that was the 9, corresponded to MN. And then T to M, and then that's R to X. All right, now, here's what we have to do. So it definitely works. They are proportional. This will be real quick. They're definitely proportional. Now we need to figure out the similarity statement. So the first triangle, you can name it however you want. So they are proportional. Step the page a little. So this is definitely proportional. All three work. All right. Now, the first triangle, you can name it however you want. Who wants to name the first triangle? What would be the name of the first triangle? Anybody? Give me the name for the first triangle. Any possible name. What comes to your mind? What letters do we see? So this triangle over here. What 3 letters do we see for that first triangle?
XAR.
XAR. Good, Jason. Now, they're not congruent because the side lengths are different, but they are similar because they're proportional. So if you see proportional, that means they're similar. Now be careful. How would we name the second triangle? Remember that order is going to matter.
MNT.
What's that?
MNT.
MNT, very good. Because N corresponded with the X, N corresponded with the A, T corresponded with the R. So if they're proportional, that means they're similar. And then you set up your similarity statement. It's only that one little squiggle that's filled up. All right, questions so far? So basically, it's just the name of the game is getting your proportions set up. You get that set up, you're good to go. You're going to be solid. All right, what about the second one? Who would like to take a guess as to whether or not they are or are they not? All right. So, what sides did we check? All right, let's look at the first one. Pick any side. Okay, so you said 10 over 8. Well, what's 10 over 8? So you went LR, CT. 10 over 8. So let's divide 10 over 8. What do we get? Okay, so you get 1.25. Hold on, let me. What about? Okay, what about the other two sides? Let's talk about that. So you have Rn, which is 6, over TQ, 4. You said that was 1.50, right? Are these two the same? Valerie? They're not. So does that mean they're proportional? You're right, they're not proportional. Not similar, not proportional. They do not equal each other. So part B is not similar. Not similar. And that's the key. What about this last one? Who wants to take a guess? Who wants to take a guess? Similar or not similar?
Similar?
Why do you want to say similar, Jason? Okay. Pick a, all right, let's pick. Okay, where'd you get your 6, Howard? What side? So CF, you're going to compare that with QT? That's okay. That's 6/8. All right. 6/8. What do we get? Say again. 175, all right? Okay. What other sides? What other side are you going to pick? You need at least 2. Okay, who does CD compare it to? Good, QR. 3/4 is 75 cents, so they're definitely similar. These are going to be similar. The proportion values are the same. They're similar. Now, what 4 letters do we see in the first polygon, the one to the left? What 4 letters do we see? Anybody, just read them out. You got to read them out in an order, clockwork. So what 4 letters do we see in the first polygon?
C, D.
C, D,
Yeah.
E, F. Okay, so you have C, D, E, F. C, D, E, F. Now, given the proportions are the same, they're similar. Okay, same order. What letter are we going to start with? What letter is that on the top? Q. Where do we go? Q, R, S, T. Very good, Alex. Again, you got to get that order right. Now, some of you have said, what if we labeled it STQR? That would have been okay, only because since this angle is technically congruent with that angle and vice versa. Because these were not that bad because we could match everything right away. However, we're not going to be able to match all the time, just eyeballing. We're going to have to look at some of the clues. All right, any questions so far before we go to the next page? So, again, you have to match up these sides. See whether or not they're proportional. And then from there, if they are, you write your similarity statement. If it's not, the proportions don't match, then you cannot do that. Like for the middle example, these two did not match. 125, 150, no good. There's 1 and 3, they all match. All right, questions? Okay, now, for the next 2 problems, we're going to be looking for the missing variable. Well, actually, we're missing 2 variables. However, you need to pair at least one side. So for 3A, we need to pair. Now, if you want You don't have to do this, but if you want to label your triangle, you can. So, somebody pick any 3 letters that you want for the first triangle. Raise your hand. Any 3 letters, raise your hand. Comes to your mind. Anybody? Go ahead.
QRS.
Okay, we can do that. Q, R, S. Now somebody give me another set of 3 letters. Anybody else? Don't repeat Q, R, S for the second one. Any other 3 letters? Somebody, anybody.
ABC.
Perfect. All right, now we need to figure out who's going to pair with what. Oh, okay. Angle-wise, that's a good start. Q and A are going to pair up. B and C are going to pair up. I mean, B and R are going to pair up. S pair up with C. But now, with sides, how many letters do we need for sides? Oops, I flipped it. With sides, how many letters do we always need for sides? Sides consist of always how many letters?
1.
How many?
2.
2. So we went from Q to R, R to S, and then S goes back to Q. Does everybody see how we're labeling these sides on the top? Now you could have went Q to S, S to R, R to Q as well. That would work too. However, once we label it a certain way on the top, you have to follow the order on the bottom. So of course, QR, you're going to pair it up with what side?
AB.
Very good. RS pairs up with,
BC.
and then SQ is,
SCA.
yeah. Now, here's what we're going to do. Q and R, well, what's QR? How long is QR? What about AB? Okay. RS is how long? Yeah. What about BC?
Y.
Okay. Now, do we know what Y is yet?
No.
Can we find it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to need to solve for. We're going to need to solve for Y, and that's just basically your crisscross, and then simplify. So we do our diagonal multiplication. 8 times 6, 4 times Y. So what's 8 times 6? Who can tell us what 8 times 6 is?
48.
And then 4Y, so 48 equals 4 times Y.
4Y.
Yup. Now, how can we simplify? How do we solve for Y? What do we have to do to both sides of the equal sign?
Divide by 4.
Do it. Hit it. So then Y equals what number?
4.
Very good, Andy. So you have your Y is equal to 12. Okay. So your Y is 12. Now, we need to find one more letter. What's the other letter we need to find? X. All right. X is represented by which side? Say again?
CA.
CA. Okay. CA is X. SQ is how much? How much is SQ worth? Look at your first triangle. Okay, now. Now you can use either the first or second. Well, now we can use the second because we already know QR is 4. AB was 6. RS we knew was 8. BC we didn't know yet. It was originally Y, but we found out Y was 12. So, are we okay up to this point? Now do we have enough information to find the X? You can. You can pick either one. Now, I usually go with the ratio that has both numbers. I usually go with, okay, Q and R, that's 4 and 6. Now, could we use the 8 over 12 to find the 6 over X? You can. So, in the end, it's going to be your choice. So, we'll just play it safe. We'll just go QR and AB. We'll just compare QR, AB with SQCA. So you can ignore this part for the moment. So now we definitely have enough information to find X at this point. So let's have at it. Let's do our diagonals one more time. Multiply diagonally. 6 times 6, 4 times X. Well, what's 6 times 6? 6 times 6 is 36.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to do 36.
Divided by 4 on both sides. Divided by 4. So what would X be? X would be what number? Huh? 9, very good. Questions? So again, most important part is right here. Have to get this part first. Have to get that part first. And remember, once you get this, then you can use any 2 of the 3. Well, I've got to be careful. The only one I wouldn't use is if you have both variables. Always look for the ratio that has both numbers. That's definitely the one you need the most. Because it's really going to be important over here. Because with B, it's the same situation. You're going to have to do 2 sets of proportions. Now, I think what would be easier is if we do them separate rather than bunch them up. All right. Now, just like before, you can pick any 3 letters to name your 2 triangles. So what 3 letters do we want to use for the first triangle? Somebody pick them. Any 3 letters. or I'll pick them for you. All right, guess I'll pick them for you. A, B, C, and then J, K, L. There we go. All right. First things first. Now the nice thing is, which side in the first triangle has a number? In the first triangle, which side has an actual numeric value? 10, which was, I think somebody said it. AC is 10. And then very good. You want to match it up with KL. 10 over 20. Actually, let me write that up. Hold on. I'm going to rewrite it this way. You'll see why I'm doing this in a sec. Now, this is the most important part. We compare the two sides that have the actual numbers. Now, for the first triangle, pick any other side. Except for AC, pick any other side.
BC.
Okay, BC. Now, BC corresponds to which side in this triangle?
JL.
JL, good. So BC is represented by what variable? The variable represents BC.
Y.
And then JL is what number?
12.
All right. Are we at a point where we can solve for this variable? You can. So now you're going to do your cross. Do your cross multiply. So then y times 20. 20y. And then what's 10 times 12? What's 10 times 12? How much? 120, good. And then what's our last step? Divide both sides by 20. So we have a y value of 120 divided by 20. Just divide our numbers. We have calculators in front of us. 6. Okay, now, what do we notice for both 10 over 20 and 6 over 12? What do we notice? Like, 10 is exactly half of 20. Do we see that? And 6 is exactly half of 12. We see that as well? Now, could we take a guess as to what the x value might be? We want to notice how we multiply something 10 times 2, you get 20, right? We see that? 10 times 2, we get 20, yeah? And notice, if we multiply 6 times 2, we get 12, right? We see that? All right, now, we can also say, whatever we get for x, we have to multiply by 2 to get 16. Because notice how, or we can do it vice versa. 20 divided by 2 gives us 10. 12 divided by 2 gives us 6. So if we divided these two sides by 2, we also have to divide 16 then by 2. So what would 16 divided by 2 give us? What's 16 divided by 2, ladies and gentlemen? Somebody said it. 8. And similar, is 8 times 2, 16? That's another way you can figure out some of these. If you get the trend for like the first couple, the trend's going to work for all of them. Because notice, and again, did we necessarily have to do the proportion for all of these problems? No. Now, and this is going to lead us to the next topic. And that's called the scale factor. Basically, and we kind of saw it in the going from the smaller to the bigger. When you go from smaller to bigger, we multiply by 2, right? And we notice when we went from the smaller, if we multiplied everything by 2, you got the bigger values, right? We see that? Or vice versa. If you divide by 2, you get the smaller ones, right? But the scale factor is sort of what's in play here. We're seeing that here. Because you multiplied everything by the same number, or similar divide. Well, if you divide by 2, you're multiplying by 1/2. So basically, but the purpose is you have to multiply all 3 or all 4 of these sides by the same number to get the larger one. Or it might be vice versa. Now, with vice versa, it's going to be a little different. You're going to have to write it in a different way, but I'll show you how. Okay, let's talk about this scale factor business. All right. Scale factor, basically, it's a ratio to corresponding side lengths. So basically, it could be a whole number. It might be a fraction. Like this one, I think is going to be a fraction in the end. But the purpose, that's going to all go back to when we were talking about order, right? Order is going to be the key here. You got to get that order. Now, the perimeter of similar polygons, don't worry about that one as much. I'm not going to have you worry about that as much. The only thing I'm going to say is with the perimeter, you have to get the sum of all the sides. Do we agree? Perimeter sum of all the sides. Do we remember that from back in the day? We'll be dealing with that again. All right. Best thing to do, scale factor and all that stuff, we have to do it by way of example. Actual doing versus saying. All right, here we go. First things first. Most important, let's get our order. Who's our angles? A, B, or P, Q, R, S. Now, we need to start matching up everything. So, which angle is going to match up with angle P? Look at, again, put your letters right above. Which letter is going to match up with P? Which one of the 4? Look at that order. Which letter is right below P?
J.
There we go. Q is R. Who matches with R? S. Okay. So We have to get that first. That's angles. Sides for the proportionality statement. Of course, all right. Okay, in the first, doesn't matter which side you pick here. I got an idea. You can write it this way. Now, could we write these letters below? Could you also, if I wrote them below, would that be okay as well? Yeah. I mean, just have to be careful with the order, but yeah, that will work. All right, now, what we're going to do. Proportionality statement. Order's going to matter here. And I'll tell you why. All right. On the top, you have to use the same polygon on the top and then the same polygon on the bottom, but you have to match. Now, which side or which polygon do you want to use first? The left or the right? Pick, doesn't matter. Pick a side, left or right.
Left.
Okay. So we'll use this one for the top. So left, I'm going. Okay, so we'll say this is the top, bottom. All right. Now, pick a side from the top. Any side on the top. Hey, KL and QR, you want to start with that, Valerie? All right. So KL on the top, QR on the bottom. Okay. What about, all right, and that's going to help us. I'm going to show you something in a second. What about, what other side? Okay, let's go in order. KL, what's after KL? So if we want, well, it's on your diagram. So I should not, it's right on your paper. You're looking at your paper. Well, you can look at both. What's next?
I'm at RS.
RS goes on the bottom. All right, what's next?
I'm at MJ. I'm at MJ.
Q. Okay, all right. Now, here's what's going on. We're going to use the proportionality statement. Now, what I'm going to do, let's fill in some blanks. Well, KL is how long?
KL is
Okay, KL is 15 over QR, which is 12. All right. We're going to use this to help us take care of these three. I'll show you how. KL over QR, 12 over 15. So that's, I'm sorry, it's going to be 15 over 12. Boom, let's go back. 15 over 12. Okay. LM, what's LM? That's an X. And that's X over 10. We got MJ. MJ is what?
MJ.
MJ, yeah.
Y.
Okay. Over.
16.
Good. Then what about the last one? 25 over W, good. Now, for the scale factor, what you need to do, if you get the scale, which one of these four has both numbers?
Oh, no.
Is that 5 over 12 or is that
Oh,
15 over 12? Okay, so we can. All right, I'll make the 15 look a little more. Ah. All right, I'm gonna highlight, you should highlight this one right here. Because we're gonna use that one to get us our scale factor. Here's how you do it. You have to go by order as well. So, what we're going to do is the following. You're going to, with the scale factor, PQ, PQRS, JKLM. Now, the order's going to matter. Here's what? First right, P, Q, R, S, J, K, L, M. Now, which two letters have the sides for both? Which two letters are we going to use that had? So what did we highlight?
K, L, and R, Q, R.
Okay, good. Let's move on. Okay, did you see what we did, ladies and gentlemen? Cross those out. Do we know what QR is?
Q, R.
Yeah. Well. What about KL?
And, K, L, 15.
Okay. I think I made a mistake here. Is it restroom? Where's your agenda? Okay, you know what? I made a mistake with this. You gotta flip them. Okay. We have to flip them. For scale factor, I gotta flip it. I'm gonna tell you why in a moment. Because PQRS, if we go from PQRS to JKLM, is it getting smaller or bigger? Bigger. So what we needed to do was, we actually had to flip it. However, this stuff right here, I'm going to use it for this problem. I made a mistake. You need to flip. Flip, and I'll tell you why. Because you said we're getting bigger, right, Alex? But let's say if we 12 divided by 15. I know you're going to get a decimal. What would the decimal value be? If we plug in 12, but you get 0.8. Or if you do it fraction-wise, you're going to get 4 over 5. I would have accepted that too. Because what it is, this is the number you multiply by. 0.8. To get that number. So anytime you see this, I tell you what, flip it. Flip your letters. Because if you multiply 15 times 0.8, you're going to get to 12. Now, if we go the other way, I'm going to set up our scale factor going the other way. What letters go on top? JKLM or PQRS? Who's going to go on the top? So normally, we write the first to second. But for scale factor, we have to flip. So what letters are going to go on top? PQRS or JKLM? You can tell us. JKLM are going to go on the top. You got to flip. Because here, JKLM, PQRS, you have to flip it. So if you have scale factor, that's a flip. You see scale factor, you have to flip. Vice versa. Scale factor, flip. Okay, and what two letters have both? Just like before, what two letters did we not cross out? Look over here. We didn't cross out QR or KL, right? Don't cross them out here either. So then the KL, why not? Yeah, KL is 15 over 12, which you simplify is 5 over 4. But if you get the decimal, what's 5 over 4? You're going to get a decimal. I know you will. Think about 5 quarters. How much money is 5 quarters?
$1.25.
$1.25. So what would happen with the 1.25? Let's say you multiply 12 times 1.25. You should get 15. So check. Does 12 times 1.25 give us 15? Check that out. So check out your calculator. 12 times 1.25. You get 15. You do, right? So that's why it's important. Yeah, you got to flip. Anytime you're going to... And the key is, ask yourself, are you going smaller to bigger or bigger to smaller? Now, for part E, part F we're not going to worry about. So if you want, cross out part F. Cross out part F. We're not going to do it. We're just going to focus on part E. Now, there are two ways. You could either solve your proportion, or if you really want to get this done quick, you can use your scale factors to also determine you're missing variables. So there's two ways you can do this problem. I want to keep this up. So there's two ways this problem can be done. You could either go scale factor or proportion. But what you need to do, this one I highlighted. You highlight because all right. So the reason why I highlighted this ratio is because we have both numbers. Do we see that one? That's the most important ratio out of the bunch. Because then from there, we can figure out how we're going to solve for a variable. And you use the proportionality statement. And that's what's going to help us with a lot of these problems going forward. All right, so let's look at this. Well, always start with the highlighted one. So KL over QR. So KL is how long again? How long was KL? 15 over QR, which is
12.
all right. Actually, I should write it on the bottom. Sorry. Sorry about that. All right. Which one? I have to zoom out a little. Sorry. Now, to find W first, which proportion are we going to use to find W? Or which ratio? We want to find W first. Which one of the three do you want to use? You want to use LMRS and JSP? Actually, you know what? Time out. Let's make it easy. Do we have to find W, X, and Y in order? No. So, let's get to the chase. We're going to take them one at a time. We know that these two, right? Let's get them two first. LM, RS. LM is X, we agree? RS is 10. Similarly, QL, QR, we can do QR, that's MJ, that's P, Now you will, there are times when you're going to get, I think one of them you're going to get a decimal. I think it's this one. And then the last one. KL, JK, QR, PQ. Now, that's where you're going to use your proportionality statement. You're going to use each part. And then from there, solve for your variable. So I'll let you try those real quick. And I'll update attendance real quick. All right, so in all three cases, you're going to find the proportion. If you have an answer, let me know. This one, I think you're going to get a decimal. The other two should be whole numbers. Just for the scale factor. Yeah. Good question. Scale factor is the only time you're going to do your flip. You don't need to flip it here. Fortunately, if you're drawing in your X or Y or whatever, you don't have to do your flip. Only for the scale factor is when you do your flip. Then the key is figuring out if you're going from small to large. So really quick, let's try to solve for those variables. Oh, okay, we do understand that.
It's okay. It's like, just, oh my God.
Really quick, find your variables, your diagonal multiplication. That's what we should be doing. So we did these sets of problems on the top. Okay, we found our X, Y, and Z yet? But do you crisscross multiplication? Do you crisscross? It won't take us maybe 2 minutes. Maybe 3 at most. Let's see what we do. Take that number. Is it 16Y? Is it 12Y? Definitely bring this back next time. You get all 3 of them? It could be an estimate. Yeah, that. Yeah, that's gonna work. You got it. Great job, Annalie, on all 3 of them. All right. Anybody wants me to look over that work, let me know. And how we do, Edwin? That's excellent. You got them all. Well done, sir. Who else is still working on them? All right. How we doing, Captain? Right, you ready? Oh, done. All right, that's solid, man. Good job. Yes. All right, I'm marking in the.
Oh,
Finished? I'll take it. So we got, all right, let me mark it in the blue zone. I got an idea for you. All right, can I buy your pen, please? All right. Thank you, ma'am. I'll take this. Alex, how do we do so? All right, excellent. Okay, hold on. Will we wrap it up? I'll just write down the answers. Looks like the majority of you got it. And then we'll talk about close it up real quick. Okay. I was impressed. Very impressed with what I saw. Yes. First one, X was 12.5. Very good. Y. What did we say Y was? Quite a few, you had it. 20. What about W?
20.
W and Y were both 20. Yes. Okay,